Rob, we lost the audio to the boardroom. I mean, the visual.
Visual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. That's got it. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. This is the Johnson County Board of Education, April 9th, 2020, and we're meeting in a very unusual setting. And I think everybody's time of school boards, this is one that's most unusual. We'll get into that a little bit more in just a minute. If you would, call the roll, please.
Mr. Carlson?
Here.
Mr. Long?
Here.
Mr. Matheson?
Here.
Mr. Payne?
Here.
Mr. Reese? Here.
And if we could stand for just a moment of silence, and probably Kevin and I will go outside of the screen, but then if Ms. Reese would lead us in the pledge.
I believe to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
For which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so I think for most folks' information, there was, and Dr. Simcox, you help me out if I mess anything up, but the governor put out a directive on board meetings and open meetings. They gave us several choices. One of the choices was to have no meeting at all. And in a minute, I'll talk about why that was not an option. Or they allowed us to meet and in closed session and then broadcast it within 2 days. And the third option was for us to meet. We could allow board members to be on video, such as Mr. Long and myself. And we also made arrangements so that if there was audience participation, they could notify the SRO at the door and still come in and have live participation with the board. And one of the reasons that we had no choice on having a meeting is that we have 2 resolutions, and those have to be approved by the board right now, and that is to approve our employees' pay for the rest of this school year. And I'm going to ask Dr. Simcox, if she would, to talk about that for just a minute. And that actually, excuse me, Michelle, that actually gets into agenda item number 5. I'm a little ahead of myself, but I think those are important. And it's also part of the consent agenda.
As far as the difference between what's on the consent agenda and what's number 5, with the consent agenda, that was the executive agreement. When we were notified that we would have to close schools, I contacted every board member because one of the things that the board and myself wanted to do was to be able to pay our staff. Certified staff under TCA code, they are considered to be working during disasters. Non-certified support staff, hourly employees, they are expected to work if they're getting paid. So we had to have an executive agreement to be able to pay our employees for the auditors and for federal program requirements. To approve the resolution to pay employees during the COVID-19 is more for auditors, saying that this is what we're going to do during the COVID-19 pandemic, so that our employees do get paid if they are working when they're available. And again, we have every one of our employees working, our assistants, our cafeteria folks, and our bus drivers are working pretty much every single day, making sure our students are getting fed, doing a tremendous job. We have assistants who are riding the bus. We have teachers who have volunteered to ride the bus to make sure that food is getting distributed. Custodians are working in the buildings. They're on staggered schedule. Maintenance is working, getting a lot of work orders and stuff done. So to be able to pay our support staff through the audit requirements. This resolution just says the board does agree to pay while we're on this COVID-19 break.
Okay.
Now, we have money budgeted for that, right? Already budgeted.
Yes, the money that we're paying now is what was already budgeted if we were in school.
Okay.
Yes, so it does not impact our budget at all.
Okay, so let's go back to the consent agenda then. Do I have a motion to pass the consent agenda?
Yeah, I'll make a motion, we pass the consent agenda.
Okay, Mr. Payne, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Ms. Reese, any more discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Matheson,
Yes.
Mr. Payne,
Yes.
Ms. Reese? Yes. Mr. Carlson?
Yes. Okay, the next one obviously goes along with that, and this is number 5, is to approve the resolution to pay the employees during the COVID-19. Dr. Simcox, is there anything else to explain concerning that?
No.
Anybody have any further questions? I think it's a good thing, and this is, like I say, one of the things when we talked about could we maybe even not meet during these difficult times, is we wanted to make sure that our employees were taken care of, and this should take care of them through the end of this year. All right, if there's no other discussion, do we have a motion?
Yeah, I make a motion, we pass item 5.
Okay, Mr. Payne has made a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
I'll
Mr.
second.
Long?
I'll second.
Okay, so I think basically everybody seconded it because we all support it, and I think that's an important vote right there. So Serena, if you can record that down, that everybody made that motion together, and let's go ahead and call the roll.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Matheson,
Yes.
Mr. Payne,
Yes.
Ms. Reese? Yes. Mr. Carlson?
Yes. All right, and then item number 6 is the second and final reading of Johnson County Board of Education Committee Policy Committee recommendations on graduation requirements and bereavement leave. Dr. Simcox, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Policy 4.605, graduation requirement, that's just allowing us to add the statement to our policy. The state requires 22 credits. Johnson County High School requires 28 credits. So we're just stating that in there, that the Johnson County High School diploma must achieve the specified 28 credits as defined in the Johnson County High School handbook. And then on the next one, which is bereavement leave, that is one that I had came across. Several people had requested that we add aunt and uncle and niece and nephew to our bereavement leave.
Okay. Any discussion on that or questions? Okay, we got a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll take it.
Okay, we have a second. Without any further discussion, call the roll, please.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Matheson,
Yes.
Mr. Payne,
Yes.
Ms. Reese? Yes. Mr. Carlson?
Yes. Next is the first reading of TSBA recommended change on the following and adding a new policy, which is emergency closing and telework during emergencies. I guess these are both coming about because of coronavirus situation.
They are, and this is from TSBA. We already had one on emergency closing, but this goes into greater detail based on, I guess, the things that have occurred during the COVID closure. It just adds what employees' responsibilities are during times that we need to be closed and what the leave process is. And then for the next one, the telework during emergencies, that just allows our teachers and our administrators who are doing telework, that is an approved policy by the board, that they can perform those duties if they have the hardware set up like Zoom calls. We have several teachers doing Zoom calls. So that just allows us to have a policy that is okay.
With 1.8011, now, will we have 2 policies on emergency closings, or will this replace the one we have?
This will replace the one we have.
Okay. That is the first reading, so we'll move on. Next item is to approve Pearson online and blended learning programs for Johnson County schools. Now, this is different than what we've talked about before. Dr. Simcox, can you explain the difference in this one?
Yes, this
What
one
this
is
is?
dealing with, yes, this is dealing with the one you all approved last month, the one that will be available to students across the state of Tennessee. This is the one that will be available to students in Johnson County. So therefore, they will still be considered Johnson County students. You know, with a portion of DEP, with this one, it'll be a 50-50 split. We get 50% of the proportion amount for student. They will get 50% for doing the virtual, I guess, learning program. But this is the one that will help our students and help us get our students back into Johnson County schools.
Okay, and does this not also have additional courses that our students can enroll in, dual enrollment,
Yes.
advanced placement, and things that we don't offer?
Correct, and they don't even have to be enrolled into the online learning program. They can be a student at, for example, Johnson County High School. If they want to take Chinese, they'll have that option available to them.
Take what?
Okay, so
Chinese. I just threw off something that we don't teach.
We don't never want to take Chinese.
Well, that's true. They might want to teach French. How's that? They might want to learn French.
yeah, you misspoke there, Dr. Simcox. We don't want to talk about
I
China.
know, I'm sorry.
Okay. Are there any other questions on that one?
Yeah, I have a couple, under, I think it's section 2B. It talks about the necessary assistive technology. Are we going to have to purchase some technology?
No, because these students are still, in essence, they're homeschool students, but they will count as Johnson County students. So that will be provided through Pearson. That is not something Johnson County Schools has to provide.
I think this is under the special education services. So will we ever have to pay for something for these special education?
Do you care if I don't have the contract in front? Oh, okay, thank you. Now, which one is that?
Under customer responsibilities, I assume that's us, or is that the student?
With special education
2B.
students, we will have to provide necessary devices.
Okay.
Yes. But that will come through IDEA for those students. If they
That's
have,
federal money?
yes, if they require services.
And down at the bottom in Exhibit B, you know, there's some prices there. One is summer school costs and tutors. Who pays for that?
Oh, that comes through Pearson. That does not come through the school system.
Someone has to pay for that, though.
Yes.
That's a cost. Who pays for it?
Well, that'll come from the
Student?
proportion of the DEP that Pearson is getting.
Okay.
Yes.
And one last question, and I guess this COVID-19 thing's got me thinking about this. Food assistance for these students? So I guess they're on their own for breakfast and lunches, or?
Yeah, I mean, they're being homeschooled.
Okay.
So they're not in our brick or mortar schools. They're not in our school setting.
But as of right now, in a situation like we have now, could they get food assistance?
Yes, and I think we do have some homeschool students that are being provided.
Okay.
Because we don't, when they come up to Mountain City, we don't say, you know, what school are you from, or you prove that you're one of our students. You know, if you're 0 to 18, we're feeding you.
My neighbor's boy is getting that.
Yeah.
And we've had several homeschool students that take advantage of our books, our distribution of books. So, yeah.
Okay, good questions. All right, so do we have a motion?
Yeah, I make a motion to approve that.
Okay, Mr. Payne's made a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Long, call the roll, please.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Matheson,
Yes.
Mr. Payne,
Yes.
Ms. Reese,
Yes.
Mr. Carlson.
Yes. Okay, and the last item is approval of Director of Schools contract. Let me explain this one a little bit because I kind of changed it around just a little bit in discussions with, you know, when we talked at our work session, there were some questions regarding the contract. And the proposal originally had been a 2-year contract extension. Well, one of the things that has caused several of the board members concern is the fact that number one, if we made a change right now, we'd be making a change in the middle of a crisis. And the question of whether or not we could effectively seek a new director of schools during this same time, and if somebody would come and if we could do interviews and have this open to the public. I talked with Dr. Simcox and asked her if she would be agreeable to changing that to extending her contract 1 year, which would get us through this crisis. And then next spring, we would have the opportunity to open this back up and make a thorough discussion. And depending on what the board's decision was, if they decided that they were going to make a change, then you could open this up and have appropriate interviews. Like I say, Dr. Simcox is agreeable to that. So I'll open that up for any discussion. We did not change the salary at all.
Mr. Chairman, I'll just go ahead and make a motion that we approve
Okay.
1 year extension.
Okay. We have a motion to make a 1 year extension.
I'll second.
Okay. We have a second. And like I say, the issue, and Dr. Simcox and I've talked about this extensively, is, you know, we don't want to make a change in the middle of all this commotion. And she's done a good job leading us through this coronavirus, and we don't know what the end of the school year is going to end up being, and we don't know what the beginning of the school year is going to be, nor what we're going to be like in next fall. So, any other discussion? All right, if you will, call the roll.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Matheson,
No.
Mr. Payne,
No,
Ms. Reed.
Yes.
Mr. Carlson.
Yes. Okay. Are there any other matters that need to come before the board? Dr. Simcox, you know, I did ask you to keep this brief. We don't want to have too much contact during all this. But is there anything else regarding graduation, prom, anything that you need to bring up at this time, or do you want to wait until next month?
Well, I can just make the comment, you know, as far as prom, that has been postponed, and we do hope to have that at a later date. Graduation right now is still scheduled for May the 16th. We still don't have guidance from the governor as far as extending the closure. You know, once that does happen, we will definitely try to get information out to our parents as soon as possible. We will have a graduation ceremony. It just may not be May the 16th, depending on how long we have to stay closed. But we will have a graduation ceremony.
Okay. And we don't have any further direction on the end of the school year.
No, he has said, the governor has said nothing yet. He still has us just closed until the 24th.
Okay. All right.
the 27th.
Well, closed till the 24th. We would come back on the 27th.
Oh,
27th.
So is there anything else that we need to bring before the board before we adjourn?
the last email that you sent us, Shell, next to the last, on the DC trip.
Yes.
Do I understand it right that if we cancel that trip, everyone's going to lose $80?
They will lose $80.
Do they have the option of buying insurance, trip insurance?
They do. I know that because I have a child going to the Washington trip. You did have the option. I do think that Mr. Cruz said only 2 people opted into the option of getting the insurance.
So that was an option, and
Yes.
those people won't lose the $80, right? Okay.
All right. Do
Everyone
we have a
loses
motion?
$80.
Yeah. That's because of the travel company.
If,
That doesn't include us.
if they didn't buy the travel insurance.
Anything else to bring before the board? Y'all make sure you keep that social distancing going up there. Everybody stay safe. Do we have a
Got one more
motion?
thing.
Oh,
Wait
okay.
just a second.
When will these kids be notified if the trip's gonna be canceled or not?
We will make that decision. It'll be as soon as we know where school is going. You know, by the 1st of May, we will have a decision on that.
Okay. Now, will they be notified through the teleconference thing that you have?
Ms. Stansberry will do a call out through the middle school. That's how you can reach everyone that way.
Now, I think that company has been gracious enough to offer, change the date.
Yeah, they have offered to even wait 2 or 3 weeks after the scheduled date, you know, if that was to occur. Yes.
Well, let me ask you this, if school should not reopen for the balance of the year, but later on in the year, say, 1st of June, would the kids be willing to go on the Washington trip? Would they be allowed to do that or what?
Well, I mean, based on what the travel company said, they would have that option. You know, again, that would be up to the parent if they wanted their child to go. But that is an option that they have allowed us to do. I do know Mr. Cruz said that right now, most of the places they would visit are closed.
They are.
So, you know, you wouldn't want to take them up there and they not get to visit the site.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't want to miss Hildy.
Mr. Carl,
Bless your heart.
I just want to make sure we thank Rob for, he went over and above to accommodate this and do this for us. And I truly do appreciate him working as he has to do that. And Chase over in the hall, he done a good job too. And I appreciate him.
Yes, they did, and I do too. I appreciate them very much. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Have a motion? Okay, we're adjourned.
Sign right? Yep. Okay. Make sure I saw. You did. Okay. Thank you.